covering. First, let's take a real quick peek at WOW 2016. What are we doing this year? One quick announcement as well around Atlas updates. You may not have caught them in December. Might have been taking some holiday and well-deserved family time. So I'm going to give you a couple quick slides on what the updates were to Atlas in December. And then we'll get to the meat of our session this morning, which is content for WOW number 1. Again, hosted UC and the many benefits. Now remember, WOW, the Wholesale Open webinar, always on Wednesdays. It's a 3-month curriculum, 6 lessons each quarter, so we space them out every other week. And we structure the lessons so it follows the life cycle of a sale. Follow it all the way through the service and the implementation. And it's designed to provide you ongoing reinforcement type opportunities and development and give you the chance as well to ask questions of our subject matter experts. That's why we're very informal and not a big fan of the mute button, so come off anytime you like. It's a rinse and repeat cycle, so we'll do that again in Q2, Q3, and Q4, but it looks something like this. The 6th is the hosted UC solution of the benefits. Then we'll go into the devices. Once you understand the software and the solution, what's the device interface that's used to manage it? And then how do you demo those devices? We'll probably get a sales engineer for that, or maybe Janie, to do those deal closing demos. And then your pre-sale assessment. That's really a sales engineer there. What is so critical to look at in the local area network? That's one of our more technical sessions. Atlas. How do you manage the customer life cycle? And what does that Atlas platform enable for you as well as your clients? Then we'll round it out with the customer admin portal nearing the end of Q1. And then there's that last placeholder for any additional products or solutions that we launch in Q1. So that's really an abbreviated, quickly ramp you back up to speed if you need, and also, again, give you the opportunity to jump on and ask questions and engage with our subject matter experts. That's what we're looking at this year. Now, these are a couple quick Atlas updates that you may have missed, or you may have not caught when we announced these in our communications in December. But new call routing capabilities have been added to our VIP hosted UC solutions. You now have an easier way to create schedules with much improved flexibility for calls coming into things like auto attendance, hunt groups, and call center queues. You'll also see a new Schedules tab. This new Schedules tab allows for the creation of new and more simple and complex schedules, all with new user interfaces that make it easy to use. It's really as easy to use as an Outlook calendar, where you can define all kinds of business schedules, including business hours, after hours, holiday schedules, again, in one convenient place as well. New rules too. In addition to shared schedules, you have complete control over the auto attendant, hunt group, and call center queues, and you can independently customize the call routing for each. No action required, folks. The updated CAP is pushed out automatically. It was done back in December. Just download the new user guide from our resource center so you'll have your resources available for you. One more quick update for you as well. This one is, one more? Which one is it? Which one is it? No. There we go. No show match. That's okay. I know this is a good one. This is a big deal. The proposal order template. Melissa, I heard a yes from you. So let me give my spin on this and see how close I was. When we first put out the order form in Atlas, it had some really weird page breaks. It just wasn't that, pardon my French, it wasn't that sexy. It just didn't look like a professional, robust order form should look. It's been fixed. That's my big takeaway for you, is it's been fixed. It has a much better, cleaner interface to it. And Melissa, I know you've used this interface and this template a lot. What's your reaction, and also what have your clients' reactions been to this?
Oh, I think visually it's a lot better to look at. It makes a little bit more sense than it did previously because of the page breaks being in kind of awkward places. But some of the other things that we have done now is when you have a customer that has multiple sites, you now have a summary sheet that will be the first thing that comes out, and that will be all of your locations summarized, so all of your handsets, quantity, what the cost will be, all of your licenses, by license type, the quantity, so the customer can look at a one-page summary and know exactly how much they're going to pay every month for your services. And then we break it down by each location, so if the customer wants a little bit more detail, they'll have that.
Okay, good. So now, as we wrap up our brief announcements from December, as well as where we're going for 2016 and WOW, remember, if there are any questions, *1 will bring you off of mute. chat box in the lower left-hand corner, and let's dive into our content for this morning. Today, we're talking about our ANPI hosted UC. You folks, you know this, but let's refamiliarize ourselves with our talk track about this. It's our award-winning hosted UC solution. It gives you the ability to, again, I love this phrase, do business anytime, anywhere, on any device. It includes all your advanced call handling features that you would expect. Your seamless integrated mobility, your audio, video, and web collab, which we just so happen to be using right now. How ironic. In one easy-to-manage solution, little to no CapEx, and much reduced OpEx as well. This is a proven way for businesses of all size. Your 5 to 10 seater, your 100 to 200 seater as well, to increase productivity and make significant savings compared to your prem-based solution. So that's your resetting of expectations. Melissa jumped on just a second ago, and I want to formally introduce her and welcome her to the call. I'm Ryan Burns. I've been with you now for well over a year, and I'm glad to be back. But Melissa's joining us. She is our hosted UC sales manager. You can see from her bio, extended experience, 15 years in telecom, 11 years selling phone systems. I've been on the road with her several times with many of our clients. Incredibly well received, a true trusted advisor for our clients, and I'm very glad that she's joining us this morning.
Well, thank you, Ryan.
You are welcome. So let's dive into this. Where are we going today? In our conversation around hosted UC and the many benefits, we'll quickly review what it is, product overview, business challenges, features and add-ons, and value props. And the reason we're having Melissa here is I'm really wanting her and I'm wanting you to leverage her in terms of her expertise, her insights, and her experience in the field. I'm just here to tee her up. At the end of the call, where I hope we land is you're better able to describe the key features and capabilities of your hosted UC solution. You have a better familiarity and comfort positioning the business challenges that your UC solution answers, and you have a really good grasp of identifying the hosted value props for your customers and your clients. All right, real quick, let's spin through this idea here around what our hosted UC solution really entails. You've heard this, it's more than just a phone system. It's a hosted UC solution that, again, I'm going to repeat this because it's such a powerful concept, gives the ability for business to be accessible anytime, any place, and conduct business anywhere. But let me turn this over to Melissa real quick. Let's talk about how it's different. How it's different from other solutions, or maybe it's how it's different from how businesses currently do solutions, maybe with a prem-based. But how do you like to explain to your partners how this solution is different, or what makes it unique?
You know, not all hosted platforms are built equally or the same. So the core of the system may be the same platform. So as this example, we use BroadSoft as a platform. They're a leader in the hosted PBX world. But everybody's interface and how it manages and interacts with that platform is very different. And so something that ANPI has done and has done very well is the fact that we put everything into a single portal. So we have a customer admin portal, or you hear it referred to as the CAP a lot. And that is the one place that everybody gets to go to manage their own user feature functionality. So other platforms are built where the admin has one website to go to and end users have a different. So that becomes a management challenge, because now as an administrator, if a user is coming to me asking me, well, what site should I go to, then I need to remember, is that person an admin or not? Am I sending them to the right link where their credentials will work and they can log in and do their changes? Other things are as simple as 911. We provide kind of a nomadic 911 service with our solution. Other companies provide this, but they charge for it, and it's in a separate website. So as an end user, how many websites do we go to on a daily basis? That's not a website I'd probably go to very often. So to, one, remember that website, and to remember my username and password to be a challenge. So we built this all into a single location. So I log in with the same username, password, and I can truly manage everything to do with my phone.
Good. So that's kind of an overview explanation of the solution. Let's dive into a couple of the key features, and I'm going to just touch on these real briefly because Melissa spoke a little bit about the CAP portion of it. Before I come to you, Melissa, I'd love to get your thoughts on how you explain or position the number 4, the network component of it. So we are very familiar with the full-featured components of it, the replacement features, if you will, of the IP PBX. Melissa spoke about the customer administration portal. We have sessions dedicated to just the CAP. But in addition to those, it's the bundled package and pricing, simple and easy to understand, and then also the reliable nationwide IP network with your geo-redundant switching clusters. So Melissa, when you're on the road and when you're meeting with clients and prospects, are they interested, or do they have questions or comments around the ANPI network?
Absolutely, because that is another big differentiator. You know, we hear a lot in the world about enterprise built and carrier built, and they're truly two different animals. An enterprise built network is to support business customers, and so the reliability and uptime measurements are very different than a carrier. I mean, our core business has always been serving the ILEC community and local and long distance and toll-free service, and so our uptime has to be built around 100%. So yes, other hosted platforms will have multi-geo-redundant platforms, but they're not necessarily an active, meaning both platforms are up and processing calls 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But we also take it to another level with our session border controllers and the network access into those. So we have redundant session border controllers at each of those locations that are active as well. We have incoming traffic only hitting certain clusters of the session border controllers and outbound traffic hitting others. So each location is truly redundant to itself before it even fails over to another location. So as some of our engineers will tell you, do we have outages? Sure, we're like anybody else. But have you experienced that outage? No, because the other platforms are picking up the workload when that happens.
Let's summarize that with one quick comment, because I hear you mention this as well. Carrier grade, and you call it carrier build, enterprise build or built, or enterprise grade. What's the difference between the two of those again?
The stability and uptime measurements. That's the big thing.
Big difference. And so ANPI is a carrier grade. Okay, good. And I know when we get our sales engineers on, they push that point a lot. That's where I've heard it. Didn't make it up. All right. So let's kind of move into the idea of what some of the business challenges businesses face, if you will, and how our products and our solutions as well address and identify and really speak to those business challenges. All right, this first one, I'm going to provide you with some insights. Buyers today, decision makers today, have as much research as they want at their fingertips. So they have tons of information at their disposal already about what the features do, the features and the products and solutions. What our role is to do for them is, well, to educate them. And one of the best ways to educate them is with insights, statistics about their business, about the marketplace, about their vertical, about their clients, and also about their competition. So what I'm going to share with you today are just some quick hit statistics that will help you in your conversations with your businesses to kind of spark their self-discovery that they need to take action. So this first one, employees are not as productive as they could be. So an average of 18% of projects are delayed because the team can't find a way to collaborate effectively. So you might introduce that conversation with questions around how do your teams collaborate right now, or what solutions do you have in place to help with collaboration. Now we know that our solution is helpful in terms of providing mobility and web-based collaboration tools as well, and helps employees and coworkers connect quickly, collaborate easier, and work together better. So Melissa, help us understand, in your experience, how do some of the features that you collaborate, or rather the features that you consult with your businesses, how have you seen them be really effective or helpful in improving business productivity?
Well, we have a great suite like you were talking about with the mobile app, with the Present Now type applications. And so I think sometimes it's just real life experience. As an example, a couple of weeks ago we had a wholesale partner that was having a challenge with one of their customers, and I didn't necessarily know the answer, and so we had a quick meeting between an engineer and customer care, and we suddenly came up with some ideas, but even the three of us, we really didn't have the answer. So I quickly used the IM chat. I looked up Jan, because Jan does a lot of our web-based applications, and so I thought maybe Jan would know. So I checked, I saw that she was available. I sent her a quick IM. She said, yeah, I'll jump on the call. So she was able to quickly join the bridge. She's like, that question is really, I go to Chris for that. And we're like, really? So I looked up Chris real quick. Chris was available. He said he was getting ready to go into a meeting. I told him, I said, it's just one real quick question. He's like, well, let me step out real quick. He jumped on the call. We had our answer. So within 20 minutes, we had a solution to a problem versus 24 hours in email going back and forth and trying to see, are you available for a meeting?
Scheduling meetings for the next day, circulating emails. I found very similar that you can get answers much quicker. If there's no other benefit to it than just getting answers quickly, that's an innumerable benefit.
I mean, but other things are simply joining a conference bridge. When we spend so much time on conference calls, I don't always know the bridge number off the top of my head or everybody's individual passcode. So I use our VIP client to have that conference bridge set up as a contact. I double-click, I launch the call, the system then puts in the passcode for me, and then as I'm sitting at my desk, I hit *1 and pull that call to my desk phone, and I'm in that conference bridge. I didn't have to know the number, didn't know how to have the passcode, and I'm continuing to type away on an email or a presentation, whatever I'm actually doing.
Time savings. It might sound like, well, that's just one person and she saves 45 seconds, but if you extrapolate that over the size of an organization, over 10, 20, 30, hundreds of calls a week, that really does add up.
We figure, what, about $2,000 a year? Is that
savings from a typical organizational size if they were to just escalate their emails to a chat? Yeah, we've got a really great white paper on that, and I'll look that up, those exact numbers. But it's real meaningful dollar amounts. You're absolutely right. Let's look at another challenge real quick. I love these kind of conversations. The next business challenge is if the tools we're providing to our employees are too complicated, they're not going to be used. These days, everyone expects everything to be as simple as using an app on your smartphone or finding their resources and help on a YouTube video. If your productivity tools, your chat, your web conferencing, if they require reference guides or if they require instructional manuals, they're probably not going to be used. I get that. If they were easier to use, though, web conferencing would be used for 33% more meetings. So, Melissa, talk with us about some of the things you've seen, how the simplicity or the ease of the tools might be a little similar to what we covered as well, how it has helped businesses, this is the simplicity part of it, how it has helped them actually be adopted and used.
I remember years ago, the big hit was video conferencing. And everybody went out and they bought video conferencing equipment and they set it up in their conference room. And you'd have an hour meeting scheduled, and 30 minutes of that meeting was somebody trying to set up the video conferencing. And I mean, look at us today. We're doing video conferencing right now from Frisco to across the country. And this wasn't challenging to set up. As soon as people logged in, they get to see us. We have our webcam up, and we're going. So there was no delay in this meeting by setting up the video portion of it. And so absolutely, I mean, think about, you referenced your smartphone and apps. I know myself, I download an app, I think it's going to be cool, make my life a little easier. I probably have 4 different shopping list apps on my phone because I try to use it once. If it's not intuitive, if I have to read the directions, I erase it because I'm done. So exactly, we've made the tools very user-friendly, very kind of common sense. You should not have to be technical or a gadget type person to use this.
It's, to borrow a line, I think it was a Geico commercial, it's so easy a caveman could do it. I know it's kind of a dated reference. But if you look at the chat interface, for us it's present. I think the button on the left is like a phone icon, it's call. And the button to the right of that is call from your desktop device. And the button to the right of that is share your screen. And the button to the right of that is share your video. It's button focused, just point and grunt if you like, but it's caveman simple, and ergo we use it. It's a good point. So let's look at a couple more of these challenges. So this is the one I think that resonates a lot, and we recently had some tornadoes that blew through North Texas, and this is real. It happens to every market and every community as well. Businesses may not always be prepared for an outage. They might not be prepared for a disaster. They might not have a business continuity plan. Real easy questions to introduce that conversation. Help me understand, when was the last time you updated your disaster recovery plan? What is your business continuity plan? What procedures and protocols do you have in place? Non-threatening question, but it's very critical. It gets them thinking about what have they or have they not done to prepare for an outage. So we know that companies that face outages of more than 10 days will probably not fully recover financially, and 50% of them will be out of business within 5 years. And those are the insights you share with your prospect after you've asked them that hard-hitting question. It really gets them, hopefully, to self-recognize the opportunity that they need to take some action. So Melissa, help us understand, what types of business continuity conversations have you had with some of your clients?
You're right. Those exact questions that you just mentioned are what I ask. And the funny thing is, 9 out of 10 customers will tell you all about their data strategy. If our data goes down, we have da-da-da-da. They haven't even thought about their voice. And so what happens when a customer can't call you? What happens if when they call you, they get a fast busy or the message of this number is not a working number? I mean, they think you're out of business and they're calling your competition. So it's amazing. When we think of disaster recovery, we start thinking of the tornadoes and the earthquakes and the horrible things that happen, a fire and the building's not there. But what happens when Denver gets 20 inches of snow that they weren't expecting exactly, and you just can't get to the office that day? I mean, that is simple disaster recovery as well, to empower your employees that probably already have a laptop anyways to be able to work from home, still take customer calls. I mean, just you continue, and they're not getting free days off.
So those are the questions you ask. Talk with us. I mean, this could be a really lengthy conversation, but talk with us about how our solution, or maybe what recommendations you give to your clients to set them up, if you will, to set up their voice with this type of solution so there is that uninterrupted business continuity.
The first thing I tell them to do is make sure, either from an admin perspective or from the end user, that you log into the portal and they set up call forward not reachable, because that's exactly what it is. If you cannot be reached, how do I need to get a phone call to you? And so you can put any dialable number in the world in there, and we'll automatically redirect calls to that alternate number. But what's even better about it, because it's easy to remember to turn something on, it's hard to remember to turn something off, because now you're back in business and you're doing your day-to-day stuff. So with the system, we auto-recognize the fact that the phone has re-registered. So it doesn't matter why it was unregistered, it's just now it's back. And so we'll stop sending calls to that alternate number and send it back to your desk phone.
So it's like a Ronco Peel, the Ronco food dehydrator, set it and forget it.
Yep.
I've noticed that, because you can make that change in the cap or make that change in the actual soft phone dialer. And you're right, I don't have to go back and change anything once you set up the way you want.
And it's great because it's not just for each end user, it's for your hunt groups and your call centers as well. So when you have a hunt group set up for the main number, then you can have a not reachable on that, and just make sure that the end users have this feature set up, and the calls coming into your main number are still going to get answered.
All right, one last question on this, we'll move on. It sounds really complicated. It sounds like an administrator has to do this for everyone. Is that true?
Each individual phone number needs to be set up with this, but it can be done by the end user.
That's awesome, and I wanted to draw that point out. So the administrator could do this for everyone, and also the end user could do what?
They can do it themselves on the fly. I've reset it from an airport.
Reset yours?
Yeah, I've reset mine from the airport because I was playing around doing some testing. I had an alternate number in there, and when I was at the airport, literally walking down the road to get onto the plane, I got a phone call going, "Can you please change your setting? I'm getting all of your phone calls right now." And I was like, "Oh, sorry." And I changed it real quick before the plane took off, and that stopped.
That's good. That's good. All right. So let's move this along a little bit and kind of break this down in terms of how it is packaged, as well as what the pricing looks like too. We break this down in terms of 3 user packages, and we kind of think about them for people. We have your Premier seat, which is your full UC seat. It has your web collaboration, which we're using right now. It has your desktop sharing, which we're also using right now. And it has, again, your audio conferencing. So to see this Premier type seat in action, you're seeing it in action. Your professional level seat really has everything I just mentioned, with the exclusion of the desktop sharing, because it really still has the chat component to it, which is, I think, one of the biggest value adds. And then your precision level seat is really kind of just your replacement PBX type seat. Primer all the way to the right is just a seat for a place. Now that's just kind of your generic one-page description of the 3 packages. Melissa, I know you've got a good spin in terms of maybe how you explain these, or maybe what user they're right for.
Okay, so I think the primer is right on. It's a place, it's not a person. So it's a break room, lobby, common area type of place. When you start moving into your precision, it is a PBX replacement. And so when we say that, truly does not have any mobility type features. You're going to get a call in, you're going to make a call out, you have all your standard hold, voicemail to email type of features. It does have some advanced call handling to it, but you have the portal, you can set up that disaster recovery type features, things like that. When you start moving into your professional license, that's where you start getting your mobility. So you're going to get your simultaneous ring. So if you need, the simple question is, do you ever need your desk phone and your cell phone to ring at the same time? Or at any time, your desk phone first and then your cell phone, and they say yes, you're going to want to sell them that professional license.
Let me stop you there. You brought that up the other day, and I loved it. And in fact, you asked an even simpler question. You said, do you ever use your cell phone for work calls, or do you ever want your cell phone to ring? And that's a yes or no question. And I would imagine 100% say yes, but why? Help me understand why again would I ever need a solution where my cell phone rings?
Some people are walking around the office a lot, and so you may want the calls to first hit your desk and have a chance to answer it there. But if you're not there, you still want to get that call. And so then the call can then forward to your cell phone basically, and you would have a chance to answer it. But the key to this is that if I don't answer on my cell phone, where does that voicemail land? I don't always want my voicemail on my cell phone, so I want it to go back to my desk phone, and that's where that professional license gives you that find me, follow me, sometimes is what it's referred to.
One more point I'd like you to elaborate on. I'm an attorney, or maybe I'm a, bail bondsman, or maybe I'm a doctor, and I have the find me, follow me turned on, and my cell phone rings. If I return that call, a little bit of a nuance here, but if I return that call, I don't always want my personal cell phone number displayed. Is that a problem?
With that professional license, it's not a problem, because that professional license is going to give you that mobile app that's going to run on an iPhone or an Android, and you launch your app, you make an outbound call, and it's going to show your office caller ID, and it's not going to show your personal contact information.
Okay, so we've covered off on the precision level C, the professional level C, and you've highlighted the mobility component too. Let's hear your talk track, or how you kind of position the premier level C.
I always ask, do you have people that run a WebEx type application? Do you guys use GoToMeeting, anything of that nature? And if the answer is yes, how many people use that? And that's when I go ahead and start proposing that many equivalent seats of the Premier license, because now you're building this one single solution through the phone system versus having to pay your local long distance, your phone provider, and a third party for web conferencing type features or audio conferencing features as well.
One more thought on the seats here is, what's been your general recommendation in terms of a product mix? I mean, in the sales you've helped with and assisted with and consulted on, what kind of product mix or ratios between those three level seats have you found either to be ideal or maybe most common?
I think anybody who does have some web conferencing and audio conferencing bridge requirements, you'll have a handful of those licenses. We're starting to see more of a bulk of professional licenses, because initially people will get it and want to try to play with it, because you can tell them how easy it is, and sometimes until they have that hands-on experience, they're not believers. And they'll get a hold of that, and then they start realizing there's other people in the organization that do not have that Premier license, and they can't communicate in the same way. They can't chat with them. They can't, include them in things. And so we find that people that get that precision or a bulk of precision seats end up upgrading later to a professional license.
All right, good conversation. Remember, come off mute if you have a comment or a question. I've seen some folks put some questions or comments in the public chat box as well. It's always encouraged. Let's kind of start putting a different spin on this and look at some of the value propositions. A little bit different than the insights. What value do these solution sets provide for your end user? So we know that we have a decreased total cost of ownership, or TCO. It's widely known that business can save, half, 50% in maybe OpEx or CapEx by moving to a hosted UC solution. That's not unique to ANPI. I think we know this industry-wide. What is not typically discussed are all the additional savings that a company can realize as a direct result of the productivity that Melissa talked about, the mobility, as well as the collaboration that she's elaborated on. Now we can look at equipment costs, IT personnel, and so on to really get our TCO, but by moving to the cloud, businesses immediately reduce TCO by up to 50%. Additionally, CapEx per employee per implementing this prem-based app can sometimes range between $500 and $1,000 per employee, and SMBs continue to pay higher costs since they can't really leverage the buying power that enterprises can as well. So Melissa, TCO, is that something that comes up with your decision makers?
Absolutely. You know, the TCO it's kind of interesting because I think we take for granted that we look at the phone bill and go, oh, our telecom cost is X. What is actually included in that telecom bill? Maybe some local long distance, maybe the circuit that's plugged into the phone system. But there's a lot of hidden costs that people are not taking into consideration in that TCO because they'll look at that hosted PBX quote and they're suddenly not paying just for a circuit and local and long distance, but they're paying per handset. And it appears to be more expensive than what they've traditionally been paying. But what they haven't thought about is how much was the cost of that equipment? How much is the cost for the person to manage that? How much is the cost for the truck roll fees when something breaks or a move add change needs to take place? But then the other part of that as well is if you were going to create a premise-based solution that is equivalent to this hosted platform with all the geo redundancy and backup and resilience so that you stay in business and your customers are always reaching you, you have to buy more than one PBX. You have to buy colo space, you have to buy additional networking, you have to buy additional licenses so that you can get that community networking so that if one PBX fails, it will auto-fail over to the other. And premise-based systems just really do not have a very clean failover process. You're having to kind of fake out the other system and you're still having to try to hide these new DIDs that are there because the DIDs can't reside in both places. So there's a lot more costs that need to be taken into consideration than just the local long-distance phone bill.
Increased productivity, another value prop we can spin through pretty quickly. Saving time, as Melissa's talked about, she kind of referenced some of these dollar savings as well as time savings, really leads, again, to the productivity enhancements. Time can be saved when a person can reach people quickly, just like the story you talked about, reaching Jan and then instantly reaching Chris versus scheduling emails or sending emails and scheduling meetings as well. This does add up. Forrester Research, a very well-respected research institution, states that 52% of respondents indicated, self-reported, that they would save 5 to 15 minutes a day by using the types of features that Melissa just talked about, and 27% stated that they would use save up to an hour a day. I've mentioned this to our team before. I've become so enamored with our tools that I don't know how I could do this job in this format without them. It really would add hours of work per day. So again, if you could, what other insights or experiences have you had just with the productivity savings that you've seen or maybe you've experienced with your clients?
You know, we have a healthcare clinic that their whole goal was to increase productivity and really kind of give people at the clinic levels more time to deal with patients that were coming in the door versus the phones. And so they're utilizing the hosted PBX to be able to have all the incoming calls go to a call center, and basically they have 3 different queues set up. They have appointment setting, nurse on call, and insurance validation, because they realized that the people at the front desk were spending more time doing that than actually taking care of the people walking in the door. And they really wanted to be patient-focused. And so this has allowed them to be more friendly to their clients and be able to have more time, face time with them, versus just answering the phone.
And that's a very powerful concept you bring up, that these types of solutions, the fact that it's cloud-based, if you will, really takes away or eliminates the need for, hands-on maintenance, which allows you to, your doctor analogy or clinic analogy, allows you to take care of and focus and do what makes you money, do what makes you do best, whether it's taking care of patients or taking care of pipes. These types of solutions allow you to focus on that versus, I've heard, running a phone system. Okay. All right, let's look at a couple more of these. I like these kind of conversations. So next, avoiding obsolescence. This is a really big one. When a PBX when a PBX was used to just make phone calls, I think the average lifespan was about 15 years, if no other upgrades were made. When new types of features were needed, that lifespan drops dramatically to an average of, I believe, around 6 years. And feature upgrades are now needed every 2, maybe 2.5 years. So moving to a hosted solution, however, really helps businesses stop wasting money on those frequent and repeated truck rolls, if you will. As much as 20% upgrades are wasted and 70% or so of projects don't meet their expectations. Upgrades to these prem-based systems are very expensive, 40 to 60% of the original equipment cost, and 2 upgrades are typically required over the lifespan of the equipment. So I kind of hinted at that a second ago when I said that these cloud-based solution kind of helps with those automatic upgrades. But when you have a hosted solution like this, really what role does it play in helping a business, avoid again that concept of obsolescence?
I think it's actually it's a very large thing and should be taken a little bit more serious than I think it actually is considered, because historically, you're right, PBXs would last 15, 20 years. I mean, they were built to last that long, and I think I joke a lot about, we can thank Cisco for equipment going end of life, because let's think about how do those organizations make money? They make money by selling you new equipment, and they make money by selling you maintenance and software upgrades. And so their whole vertical is driven by obsolescence. We have to make this end of life. We're not going to support it any longer, because otherwise our customers are not going to go out and buy new equipment. With hosted, as we do new things, as we add new feature functionality, if we add some new features to the professional license, if you have that professional license, you're just going to log in one day and have it, and you're going to have access to it. You didn't have to ask us for it. You didn't have to commit to a longer term. You didn't have to spend any additional money. So we want to empower our end users to stay at the latest, greatest technology and not hinder them by, oh, if you really want that, that will cost extra.
It will cost extra. All right, I took a sneak peek at some of the other value props, and I'm not going to spend too much time on each of them, but maybe Melissa has one more concept around each one of these. Business continuity, we've spoken a lot about that so far. We know that about 28% of those that have a plan acknowledge that they have not tested their plan. So I don't think that's any surprise to you, Melissa, at all. More sobering, 70% of firms who experience a data loss, we know this, go out of business within a year. So any other insights around business continuity you want to share with us real quick?
We talked about just bad weather and just not being able to get into work. I mean, we know here in Dallas we may not get snow very often, but we do get ice storms.
We get ice.
And when you have ice, you do not want to be on the highway. And so the best thing in the world is the fact that I can just work from wherever I am. So if I'm stuck someplace, and because of traveling, I have been stuck in places before, it doesn't hinder the fact that I can still have conference calls and do my job and just in a different place.
Enabling mobility. We know that smartphones represent about 60% of the usage of all devices because they really enable you to enact or interact with an assortment of business processes. And we also know that 80% of usage in a typical UC system is actually not associated with a phone call. So any other advice or recommendation you have out there for having conversations around why businesses need to adapt to a mobile workforce?
The thing is that the people coming into our workforce are younger, tech savvy, they are instant gratification type of individuals, and so that's really where this professional and premier license play heavily. I always advise our wholesale companies, when you walk into the building, look around, see who's there, because that will help really help you decide what licenses and handsets are required for that solution.
You brought up a good point, the millennials, the Gen Y. I encourage all of you to read up on the workplace trends and the expectations of this generation, because you're right, Melissa, they not only use them, they actually expect them.
Yes.
That's one of the things that they expect going into the workplace is that businesses have the most up-to-date technologies, that they have systems and processes in place to allow for mobility and they really desire the flexibility of the flexible workforce. So this is kind of a built-in generational acknowledgement to their trends. And again, it's going to help them be more productive, and they're going to be happier at work. One more I want to sign off on with you is this idea of increased collaboration. UC enables teams to be located throughout the U.S., and we know that about 50% of organizations saved around 20 minutes a day with instant messaging. One thought I had on this is it really increases your talent pool. I know Melissa's colleagues are located in, see if I got this right, Baltimore, Philly, Minnesota, Arizona. Who am I missing? That's it.
We have 2 in Minneapolis.
2 in Minneapolis. So it's, what is that, 3 time zones? 4 time zones. Yeah, 4 time zones. But I know that there is seamless integration and collaboration between the 4 of you, or 5 of you. What are there, any other insights or comments you have to share with us around the collaboration component?
You know, the collaboration comes in many different ways. And I mean, as an example, while we were on this call, I had one of my coworkers send me an IM going, I just sold something, I need some help. Can you call me? And I went, as soon as we're done with this call, I'll give you a call back. And she's like, great, thanks. I haven't heard from her because she knows, you know, within 45 minutes of that, I will be giving her a call. So now she can move on to some other things and we can focus back on that sale here in a little bit.
Yeah, that's a great point. Focusing on quick resolution to again, making that sale. That's a great point. All right, let's go ahead and merge into the exit lane and start our wrap-up. Remember, if you have a comment or a question or some insight you'd love to share with us, you're always welcome to do so. Hopefully, after this conversation with Melissa, she's really given you some better lyrics or a better understanding and grasp of some of the key features and capabilities of your hosted UC solution, as well as how to position some of the business challenges and the way that your hosted UC solution addresses those. And you're more comfortable now identifying and explaining some of those key value propositions for your customers. That was really our goal for the morning. Now, where are we going over the next few weeks? We just started our Q1, with this call, our Q1 curriculum for our WOW sessions. We covered off on hosted UC devices today, and we will be joined in the next 2 weeks with deal closing demos. I love that one because it's very visual. We'll have webcams, we'll have devices set up. We'll actually do demo segments for you as well. And then the pre-sale assessment, guys, if you're a technical component or a technical role in your organization, you've got to come to this one with best practices for pre-sale assessment because it's all about the LAN. And one thing I've learned is that is the biggest wrench in the works. I cannot stress that enough. Please come to that session to get the best practices for what do you have to assess in your local area networks. Looks like, do we have a comment that came in, Christine?
Yes, sir.
All right, so currently, all right, let's see. Maybe you can help us with this. All right, so currently, I'll repeat Daniel's question. Currently, when you move between networks with the in-command app on the phone, the app does not save the login. I think I know where you're going with this. Information you need to enter the username and password every time. Yeah, so what Daniel's saying, and maybe you can speak to this, is when you're, bane of my existence too, when you're in the in-command app on the iPhone, you pull it up, you log in, you pull it up, you use it, you close it, or you minimize it, or it runs in the background. The next time you pull it up, it asks you to re-enter a username and password. And I'm here for you, and I will tell you that is the biggest hassle. It's almost been prohibitive for me to use it as well. It's a total hassle. It sucks. So, Melissa, other than moving to an Android, I'm not going to go change my device. Again, I don't want to put you on the spot with a product-specific question, but do you know what that looks like in terms of roadmap adjustments or anything?
I do. So it has been told to me in the first quarter we are going to be releasing a new software version that's going to fix this, and we're further along than what I thought, and so I'm probably expecting it in the next probably 6 weeks or so.
So we're looking for an update, or there will be an update, hopefully in the next software update to the app. So if I'm Daniel, I've got my iPhone, I will see a little red button that says please upgrade or update my app.
Yes. That is what I've been told. And if not, then you would just go back to the App Store and just download a new version of it.
Okay. So 6 weeks. I'm not gonna. She's not product. So if it doesn't.
Not product.
Yeah. So if
we missed 6 weeks. I do know it's happening in the first quarter, though. I have been promised that first quarter it will happen.
Yeah. Let me reiterate. She's not product. So if it doesn't happen, it's not her fault.
Yeah.
All right.
Don't hold it against me.
Thank you. Look forward to it. Hey, I look forward to it too. That's no good. All right. Hey, I always welcome questions like that. So Daniel. Thank you for that question. You're always welcome to come from me if you like at any point in time. Guys, any other questions or comments?
*1 to come off mute.
You got that. Anything else? So Melissa, just to wrap up, any comments or questions, any words of encouragement, any sage advice you have as we jump off this morning?
If you're new to selling this, please reach out. You have support here. Myself, Janie, we support all of our existing ILEC community right now. So I'm sure if you're in my territory, you're familiar with me. If you're in Janie's, you're familiar with her. We will help you. We will go out on customer sites. We will help you do discovery calls. We will help you analyze the information you've gathered from a discovery call to figure out what is the best thing to quote for this customer and make sure that you've asked all the right questions. We're here to help make sure that you have success with this product. So reach out anytime.
They're here to ensure your success. Fantastic words of advice. Thank you again for sharing your insights with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And folks on the call, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.